Hey guys, this is Yoda. In this video, we'll go over simple routes for every dungeon. None of these routes require relics except for Ransack. There's no fancy skips in any of them. They're just whole W routes that kind of skip the bad mobs and do the good mobs, I guess. And most of the pulls should be manageable. If you are a bit under geared or low level, tanks get a lot stronger when they get their legendaries and their gem powers. So in the beginning, you may not be able to do the full route or something. So I'll try to talk about which pulls are like harder or easier. But anyway, without further ado, talk about Empyrean Sands first. So we're going to start off with a nice easy pull here. Just the first two packs. You walked up to the left. There's a patrolling pack and 3 patrolling husks. You just pull that and do that. I've seen people pull this pack as well. In my opinion, this is not required for Empyrean Sands because later on in Empyrean Sands, you use a greed spawn sentinel to kill a bunch of the trash. The like crazy route actually skips a lot more stuff early on and just respawns the entire dungeon, but we're not using no relics, so it's harder to skip. Anyway, this is the first pull, and then the second pull, you're gonna walk through this gate. Do not pull this back. Walk through this gate and pull all the way up to map 2, up to the patrolling Sonari. And pull 3, we're gonna play this bridge. This patrol is gonna walk into you anyway, so just play it with double Sonari. If you want, you can skip this pack, but it's like a little bit awkward. Someone else ninja pulls it. And just do more with the greed spawn later, but for now we're just going to play this as the third pull of the dungeon. Probably have ults for it too. And then from then on, it's all greed spawns. So you greed spawn this pack, double grave scythe with the actual greed spawn pack itself. You just tank the pack just outside on the greed spawn. Then he starts casting his thing. Move the pack just outside of it, and the greed spawn will kill the pack for you, basically. And then you're going to chain to this greed spawn. Actually, no, you're not going to chain to the greed spawn. You're going to chain to this one at the entrance, because this pack is a little bit more dangerous. You want to get rid of it more quickly without chain pulling too much. You get rid of this pack, and then I think this original greed spawn will be dead, and then this one will be at like half health, and you tag this greed spawn and bring it to the hunters. Alternatively, you can ask one of your DPS. I think it's a lot to do as a tank, but you can ask one of your DPS to tag this hunter and LOS it around the corner here. And have the hunters run in. Obviously, if you're in a pug, then you probably can't count on anyone to do anything. So instead, you're going to wait for the Scenaries and the hunters to die, and then tag this pack and run all the way up to these hunters. Ideally, you preserve this sentinel as well, so you can bring this sentinel, like as soon as this pack is dead, you can bring the sentinel to the last pack. If not, you will have to kill the last pack with your hands. Make sure that you don't mess up the Maggie's soak here. You can see this ability, Constellation of Ruin. He puts out 4 stars. If anyone misses the soak, GG. You may want to line up your CCs for that. And then after that, I just ruined the route, but whatever. We'll fix it later. After that, you just go to the boss. Bang. That's Empyrean Sands. Next, we'll talk about Everdawn Grove. When Everdawn Grove, this is one of those pulls you may want to split up if you are under geared. Or maybe just don't pull this pack and pull something later. But we are going to pull the first 2 mania brutes, I guess first 4 mania brutes on the way, past this skitter shard pack up to here, and then tag this pack across the bridge. You can like mount all the way up here, double dash and taunt it as Mako. Elena can just throw a shield from mount over here, or you can just ask a DPS to tag it. I think in a really high key, I usually ask DPS to tag this for me. Remember again, if you are under geared, probably split it. Just go like up to here, and then up to here basically. Double instead of like quad at the start. Next we're not actually going right, by the way. We tag this and then we go left. So we're going to go left and pull these skitter shards, this pack of brutes, into the desecrator. Be aware the desecrator has a soak, and there's a bunch of there's only one Dawn Bloom, I guess. Make sure whoever has the debuff isn't soaking the desecrator. Then we're going to pull up to the patrolling Goliath. I do recommend you can pull this pack early if you want, but do not pull this pack until all the smallies have cleared. You're pulling a Goliath, so all the smallies are going to die basically before the Goliath dies. My recommendation would be to pull the Goliath with 1 pack, maybe like these Outrunners. Once the Skitter Shards have died, you can chain another pack of Skitter Shards in. And then finish it all off together. If it is Stone Skin, you should drag the Goliath also up to here. Anyway, after this pack, we're going to do this pull, basically. Just this pack plus the 2 mobs right next to it. There is a totemic in this pack, so make sure you kick that guy. And focus the totem when it spawns. After that, we're walking all the way over here. Progressing with the dungeon. So which pull order you do here kind of depends on where this patrol is, since this patrol is very long. Ideally, you would pull this first. You tag this pack over the wall, like from right here, and it just all runs in. The Desecrator gets lined in, and these mobs are all melee mobs, so they'll just run in. And the idea is to play this with the patrolling pack. Just kick the Seer and call it a day, and soak the Desecrator. And then the next pull, or the pull before that, depending on where the Seer is you pull these Skitter Shards up into the corner here with triple Desecrator, and then jump to the boss, and that's Everdawn. Godfall Quarry is next. So in this dungeon, we're gonna start off by going left, and we're not gonna do a massive pull at the start. I have wiped many times to pulling too many mobs at the start of the dungeon in this place. These dredges actually really hurt. And especially as Mako, you're really squishy at the start. So we're going to run past the first pack, hug right here, tag this, and pull it into here. Make sure you get these 2 dredges on the wall. I guess make sure you get the 4 dredges on the wall. Usually these 2 pull, and then these have to be like pulled manually. This pull is a little bit dangerous when the Enforcer applies Crush Armor to you. And make sure the Taskmaster doesn't hit multiple players, so your healer can focus on healing the tank. And then we go to pull 2. So this is with 2 ward stones. You're going to tank on the ward stones. Tag a Skitter Shard, and someone that is not the tank needs to interrupt this Arcane Warden to get it in. Like just kick a cast so it walks in. Either a ranged DPS or like a melee can walk up to it and kick. Either way. Don't worry too much about interrupting the ward stones because they're like significantly nerfed, I guess, from earlier versions. It's mainly just the Warden's Fear that needs to be focused on in this pull. I think there's a bolter somewhere. Maybe there's no bolter. Alright, just make sure the Warden's Fear doesn't go off. And you can kick the ward stones, like to apply Brittle to them, but make sure the Fear doesn't go off mainly. Someone kicks it in and then someone else watches Fear. The other person can probably kick ward stones. Alright, after that, we're moving on to pull 3. Just make sure you don't get this or this pack by accident. Hug right. You can chain the Taskmaster too. He tends to be alive at this point. In this pull, there's an Enforcer, a Warden. Make sure you interrupt that. And a bunch of dredges. Usually you have ults for this pull, so it kind of dies pretty quick. Make sure you get this patrolling Enforcer too. He can be like anywhere along this line, so yeah. After that, we're going up to the bridge here. This is double Enforcer with the pack over here. Usually you can skip one of these Enforcers by playing up here in the corner, but you have to pull this pack. Generally, I would say it's better to play like this. But if one of these Enforcers, if you are playing Empowered, one of these Enforcers is Empowered, and I think an double Enforcer with 1 Empowered is actually just death for the tank. So in that case, you would just pull up here without the Empowered Enforcer and play this pack. Or you can also just chicken it and then pull like this if you want. Either way works. After that, you're gonna move on to the Goliath or the Earth Elemental. I wouldn't recommend chaining instantly. Probably wait until the Skitter Shards die, heal that up, maybe let the healer dispel a bit, and then pull up to here. And then once the ward stones are dead, you can kind of try to chain up to these Skitter Shards. And that's count for Godfall. Then you go boss. Alright, Sailors. In Sailors, we're going to go this way. It's right on the map, but like you're facing downwards, so it's actually left when you start the dungeon. We're going to pull up to the water elemental here. Do not pull this one, pull up to here. There's going to be 2 Vengeful Shades that you can use stops on. Your healer is going to be really busy dispelling from all the lashers. So ideally, not too many of these shades are going off. And there are 2 water elementals. Make sure everyone stacks in melee. And you don't let healing waters go off. After this pull, we're going along the wall here. You don't need these extra flowers. By the way, if you do have a skip, you can pull these flowers and not pull 4 later, but this is a no relic route, right? So we're pulling all the way up to double water elemental here with double vengeful shade. Again, stack in melee. Don't let healing waters go off. Hydra Bolt. If Hydra Bolt does go off, hopefully you just survive it with only 5 lashers. Then pull 3. We're gonna hug the wall again and just do the pull. There are 3 Vengeful Shades and 2 Tormented Specters. The Tormented Specters need to be interrupted on Anguish Unleashed. Do not let that go off. We're pulling with 3 lashers, so the pull is quite tame. I would say once the Specters are dead, You can probably chain to this pull, pull 4. Pull 4, however, is not tame. It may look like it's only 3 mobs, but these Corsairs are really messed up. Their auto attack applies a bleed, a stacking bleed to the tank, and there's 2 of them. So you kind of have to kite around. There's also a water elemental in the pull, and it's not really going to be possible to stack in melee if the tank is kiting. So make sure we're interrupting Hydra Bolt. Again, if you have some way to skip this pack, definitely try to do it. If you have chicken, you can just like pull these 3 lashers and these 3 lashers in their respective pulls, and then chicken one of the Corsairs, and it becomes a lot more manageable. You can probably chain quicker or even pull this. Anyway, after this, we were jumping down into pull 5. I have it marked all the way to the Magi, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You could just pull these 2 raiders up to these raiders, finish off the smallies, make sure tank is stable, and then chain when you want to. But it is marked all the way to the Magi. If you're geared enough, you probably can just go straight up, straight all the way down. Honestly, I would actually recommend you don't do this, especially if you're under geared. Just pull these 5 raiders. Once tank is stable, or maybe even just fully finish it off, you can pull this. After that, we're doing pull 6. It's just the last 2 packs together. 3 Vengeful Shades, make sure you get good stops on them. And the Magi, make sure you do the stops, or the soaks. And this is plus. Alright. Silken Hollow. We have no chicken since it's a no relic route, so we are going to be fighting all the carrion horrors. But we start off with the first pull, just pull everything up to the bully. Make sure you don't die. This as a tank, this pull is relatively difficult. There's a lot of small mobs mailing you at the same time. Do not let the bully's only cast go off, but you know there's 3 kicks, so surely someone kicks it. Next we go up to pull 2. It's basically the same pull, just another bully with a bunch of smallies. And then we're going to turn right. Do not go left. We're going to be turning right. You need to pull this bully into this area. So the best way to do this is you mount up to him and then do a little curve around here. If the bully walks over this stump, he tends to bug out, and like you don't want that to happen. So you're gonna have to walk him a little bit around here and then just stay on mount and run all the way down up to the kidnapper here. There is, I believe, a recluse, so your healer's gonna be on their toes with dispels. And the kidnapper, make sure no one gets kidnapped. And that's the pull. After that, we are going to go up to the double bully area. But I don't recommend pulling double bully, especially if you're under geared as a tank. That is going to hurt a lot. So I would recommend splitting it like this. You pull this front pack into this bully. You can get the campfire, by the way, as soon as you pull the pack, I believe. That might be fake news. I'm not 100% sure. There is a Venom Drinker in this pull. Do not ever let Poison Nada go off. Your life will be hell as a tank and as a melee and as a group if that happens. Cannot be kicked. You just need to use interrupts on it, like stops on it. Like everyone has at least 1 stop. And there's the bully, so make sure you interrupt that. Then we're going to pull the other bully into the double recluse pack. Make sure we get good dispels on that one. Or it's only a single recluse. Okay, single recluse and kidnapper, so just make sure you dispel. Don't let people get kidnapped, etc. Do not chain pull by this, by the way. Finish all of these mobs off in pull 5 before going to pull 6. That is because there is a carrion horror in this pack, and the way this mob works is every time it casts its Bursting Brood, it basically does massive damage to the group. And if you chain pull low mobs into it, it will cast Bursting Brood whenever they die. So the idea is to completely finish off this pack and then pull this from full and then focus down the carrion horror. If you kill any of these mobs in the pack, obviously, before it dies, then it will eat them and do Bursting Brood. If you have a chicken, then this is a really good mob to chicken, and you can pull some extra later, which I will show where to do that. Actually, it's just here. So if you have a chicken, you can chicken 2 carrion horrors. You would chicken this one, then you would pull this pack around into pull 7 and do a smaller pull. But this is a no relic route, so we're not doing that. We're gonna focus down the carrion horror and then go into pull 7. We're pulling all the way up to the kidnapper. This is a triple recluse pull. If you have mass dispel relic, it's really important to pay attention to that here. Your healer can usually keep up with the dispels. And there's also double kidnapper with the Venom Drinker. Do not let Poison Nada go off, and ideally do not let anyone get kidnapped in this pull. This is kind of a pretty tough pull, to be honest. Anyway, you have to fully finish it off, and then we're going into the next carrion horror, which obviously do not chain pull, or this carrion horror will eat mobs and then Bursting Brood you. And then after that, here's a straight shot to the boss. So that's Silken Hollow. Next, we'll go over Stormwatch. All right. So this first skip is a little bit technical. I'm not sure it should be in like a simple routes video, but it is definitely doable once everyone knows what's up. So you're basically gonna mount past this pack, hug right. Do not pull this executioner under any circumstances, especially if he's empowered. Do not pull that guy. And you're gonna hug right here and just do a little curve around here, mount past this pack, and then hug left with these man catchers. And you're gonna fight right here with your back to the wall, so the cutthroats don't like teleport behind you. You can just stand still and you're back to the wall. If it's like meteor, then you kind of have to move sometimes or get dispelled. And there is one invoker in the pack, so just interrupt it. And that's it. There are a couple pillagers. Ideally, you're focusing those down first so they don't get bolstered by everything. But yeah, I really like this pull with your back to the wall here. Again, if you're under geared, this might be relatively difficult to do. You could just start with like these two, like especially like low contender, you have no gear. These two, and then do like this pack into this pack and still fight with your back to the wall here. But that is like going to be quite a bit slower uh, than doing the whole first pull. So up to your own discretion. Then we're going off to pull 2 here. There is double arsonist and 4 pillagers. So ideally you're focusing down the pillagers. But I know everyone likes to focus arsonist, so if they die, they die. And then once the pillagers are low enough that they won't die before the rats, or that they will die before the rats, rather, you can chain into the rats. The dynamic here is that the rats have really low HP, and the pillagers have bolstering. So if you ever kill a rat near the pillager, then the pillager gets massive, it gets more max health, and it'll like clobber your tank. And you kind of want the pull to be relatively tame while these rats are running around fixating everyone with their frenzy. There are a couple of tricks you can do to deal with this lifesteal. Like you can knock them and kite them. You can drop Dave. You can use Grand Melee so they hit the tank. A couple tricks you can do with that. But yeah, you're just gonna chain pull the rats, or just finish off the pack and do the rats alone. That's perfectly fine, and get the campfire. Next, we're going up to the Executioner. We're just gonna do a nice chill pull with the Executioner. I think there's 2 casters to interrupt here, and a cutthroat. Don't get backstabbed. Make sure you kick, etc. Then we're pulling 5 pillagers into the first part of the boss. If you're under geared, obviously, just finish off the pillagers, but I feel like the pillagers were kind of put here so they could be pulled into the boss. So yeah, if you can handle it, definitely do that. And we're going to do a nice chill pull with the bully patrol and 2 arsonists. If you're strong, if you have ults or Shadow Lord or something, you can chain all the way into pull 7 with the next bully. That'll just be double bully, double arsonist. And the arsonists need to die pretty quick or you'll run out of interrupts there. But I have it marked separately, 6 and then 7. And then you're going to pull this bully patrol into this pack. Make sure you interrupt ball lightning. And, you know, together strong from the bully basher. If this patrol walks into you, it's like not ideal, but it's like okay, you can kind of deal with it. Ideally, you would interrupt this Storm Screamer on pull and pull the pack like a little bit over here so you can dodge this patrol either way. Then we're walking down this pathway into the rats. You can chain the rats, obviously, once the Storm Screamers are dead. It's kind of a chill pull, so you can chain down into the rats pretty easily. Emeralds is the last rats. And then we're going to try to fight the patrol with this pack, but this patrol kind of walks like all the way up here to the boss, so you can't avoid it, you can't avoid it. Or sorry, if you have to fight them, sorry, if you have to fight the split, then that's fine too. And then we're going boss. All right, Wormheart. The Wormheart, we're going to pull all the way up to the Scholar. I don't really think you can afford to not do this, even though this pull is a little bit difficult. One thing about fighting this pack, you're going to interrupt the Scholar and then pull it all the way back here. The reason is this Lookout Patrol will walk into you, and if the Scholar is not walked back, then the Lookouts can aggro a little bit close. And the thing about the Lookouts is they don't have any abilities in combat, but the moment you aggro them, they like do a little scream and it aggroes any packs. Their like proxy aggro range to friendly packs is very, very large. So if you pull them like right here, then they will pull these 2 stalkers a little bit early and you will be getting rapid fired from long range. So try to not do that. You're ideally pulling this back all the way back here, and then the Lookouts can walk into you and you can fight them with it. And they won't pull the archers. Also, this first archer is gonna rapid fire you from long range. You can use Cyclone to stop that, or Grand Melee, whatever, or a knock from a DPS. You know, anything works. Make sure the Scholar's Rune doesn't go off, obviously. I think everyone knows that by now. And then we're going to chain into pull 2. So it's just 2 Blades of... Honestly, if these lookouts are in, it's just 2 Blades of Cithrel with 2 Tundrastalkers. We don't really need this pack since we're getting a lot of count later. And yeah, just peel it off. It's a pretty simple pack. And then go into pull 3, which is this Scholar, 2 Tundrastalkers. And I believe the next Golem, yeah, we're going to pull into the next Golem. So you tag that Scholar, that's like right here. Do a couple interrupts, and then you can LOS it in here. The main reason you need to LOS is because of the Tundrastalkers. So you just get it all grouped up by using LOS tactics on this wall. Once it's all grouped up, you don't need to stick in the cubby anymore. You can like use all this space to maneuver. Make sure you get the campfire after this pull, and then do pull 4, which has an assassin. I would say the tank should be responsible for this assassin, and then everyone else should interrupt the Chronomancer. Once the assassin's dead, you have AoE stops kind of freed up for the Blades of Cithrel on their Icebreaker cast. Then we're going into pull 5. I recommend pulling this pack up the stairs, otherwise this Thunderstalker tends to like become a problem shooting downstairs. There's just one Chronomancer and a couple Blades in this pack, so do stops on the Blades on Icebreaker and interrupt the Chronomancer. Then we're going into pull 6 and 7. So I have these marked separately because it is like a lot of interrupts that you kind of need, but one thing is, as soon as you kill this Cold Heart's Assassin, the pack becomes very much easier. So I would kill this Cold Heart Assassin and then drag the Chronomancer into the double Scholar. You may need to use a couple AoE, like an AoE stop or 2 on the rune, but once the Assassin's dead, you should have enough like stops and interrupts to cover everything. But I think you should kill the Assassin and then chain into pull 7. Otherwise, it's like one pack into one pack, which is like pure despair. And then it's a straight shot to the boss, and that's Wormheart. Next, we'll talk about Urrak markets. So this dungeon can get a little bit crazy if you don't know the routing. Fortunately, we will be following my route. I believe there is a bug right now with the website. There's a pack missing here. And there is also an extra Gorestain Butcher in this pack over here. So don't worry about if the count is a little bit off at the end. You can just pull, I think if you pull all this, you'll definitely be like having enough count. Anyway, for the first pull, we're going to tag this pack. And then we're not going to tag it. We're just going to mount past it on the bridge. Do not pull this one on the right. Into the corner here. And then this patrol will walk into us. The main thing here is you need to stop. There's a slaver here. You need to stop Bloodlash Wake so that you can easily soak the Desecrator. And that's basically the whole pull. Just stop Bloodlash Wake and soak the Desecrator. You can also interrupt Barb Chain. There is also a Slavebind Totem up here for count for free, but we're kind of mounting past it. So towards the end of the pull, your ranged DPS can walk up here and kill the totem. If your healer has a weapon, zero-less weapon, they can also solo the totem with that too. After that, we're going to jump off here, pull the 2 Outrunners into this pull. There are going to be a lot of barbed lashes. Try not to get hit by too many of them as the tank. As a melee, obviously, if you get hit, you're just dead. So yeah, pull into this pull, and then finish off the totem. We're going to run all the way across here, run over a couple lashers, and pull this. So this is where I think there's a missing pack. You don't need to get these 2 raiders. I would pull this into the missing pack and just keep it there. You can also go into this pack if you're feeling really strong, but you know, this is kind of a under-geared-ish type of route. Finish it off with the missing pack here, and then pull these 2 raiders into the rest. You can just fight this pack like right here, and the raiders will walk into you also. Once that's done, you're going to go across the way, mount here, and then just walk, like you can jump in over here to avoid this pack. You can also fight the boss at that point. That is decent for certain routes, but under other routes, like if it's Shadow Lord, you really don't want to do that because you want to use Shadow Lord to fight the boss at the end. But anyway, you are going here. You can go past the boss. Don't pull the boss, like just go around it. And then pull this pack into the corner here. There should be only 1 butcher, even though there's 2 marked here. If it's empowered, by the way, I do recommend having a chicken so you can chicken it. That empowered butcher is extremely dangerous. If you do not have a chicken, then you may have to figure out another route to do this dungeon unempowered or just skip it. But yeah. Okay, so you do this pull. It's relatively easy, I think. There's a slaver. Not much other dangerous mobs, in my opinion, in this area. And then we're gonna turn up here and go up the ramp into pull 6. So this is the 6 outrunners plus 2 desecrators. Make sure you do stops when the desecrator soak comes out. That way no one gets comboed by the bullet throw and the soak from the desecrators. And then you walk over here. If you still need count, there's outrunners plus this 3-pack. Then if your route, like if I know there's some mistakes in the app right now, if you're still missing count, then this patrol is kind of free. The Bloodfang Raider and 2 man catchers, you can just run over and tag it quick. Or if you get up here and you notice your short count, you can also tag it into pull 6, which is what I did, I think, in one of our runs. So yeah, that's markets. Next, I think that covers all the adventures. We're going to talk about the capstone dungeons now. So all of these routes are going to be assuming you're like relatively weak just starting off, like when you're doing them while you're progressing. They're assuming you're not an Eternal yet. So this is going to be Contender 7 Cithrel. You just go up to here, make sure you interrupt the Sentinel. I would recommend not pulling these 2 archers. So this is a nice chill pull, just interrupt Sentinel. Then we go up to the Golem here. Finish off the Golem. There's going to be a lot of dispelling happening. Someone will probably die if you don't have Massive Dispel Trinket, but it is what it is. Just run back. And then we're going to jump off to the right here and drag this into the Corruptor. So these golems are probably going to walk in. You just have to dodge them and interrupt the Corruptor here and not die to the Stalker. You could potentially split this if you wanted to, but that is kind of a lame pull, just fighting 1 pack at once. So I would recommend pulling up to the Corruptor, make sure the Corruptor gets interrupted. When it's all dead or when it's just golems left, you can chain into the next Corruptor. And I recommend getting this pack out of the way so you can interrupt the Corruptor and drag it up all the way to the golems. That way you don't have to drag the Stalkers too much. Once this is all dead, you can pull the boss, Ancient Koros. Once that's dead, you're coming right here. You're pulling this patrol, this pack, and this pack. Again, you can split this. You can fight, like, I would say without this pack down here, and just fight the Corruptor with the Campfire pack. Get the Campfire, and then like do this pack alone if you want to. And then we're gonna go this way and hug right and do pull 7. So this is kind of a dangerous pull. If you want, again, if you're not super geared, you can fight just this pack alone, like kill off a blade or something and then chain it into this pack. This pack has 2 important casters to interrupt, and there's like there's a scholar, and if the blades are like messing with your range during that, it can be really annoying. So you could just focus down a blade, get rid of the mass dispel first, or the dispel shardlings, and then chain it. There is a way to skip this pack by pulling this one instead and doing a jump over here, but I'm not going to recommend that for people who are doing their first contender dungeon. So yeah, finish off this pack, and then we're going to proceed this way. I think you can't even fight Cithrel yet, so we're going to proceed this way and fight 2 blades with the Golem. Actually, I remember I was going to split this. We're going to split this up a bit differently. We're going to pull these 2 blades into this pull, which is double Sentinel, I believe. Yeah, double Sentinel, 1 kick each. And 3 blades. Probably focus down a blade here. But I would say once a blade and a Sentinel are dead, you can kind of chain pull and do this. I'm gonna copy this, by the way, for myself. All right. This is 1 golem with 1 Sentinel and 1 blade, so you can kind of chain this once a few mobs are finished off here. Next, we're gonna do triple Stalker with double Scholar. The easiest way to group these Stalkers is to fight them right under the stairs here. They get Eloist on the stairs. And then just pull them, and then just pull the Scholars in. The Scholars will obviously cast from range, so if they're not right here, then you kind of need to do kicks in. Like you would do 1 kick each to get them in, and then the 3rd kick is on a rune, and then you'd use 1 stop on the last rune. You still have like a bunch of stops left to stop rune if you need to. But yeah, that's how I'd recommend grouping this. Then we're gonna go into pull 11. None of these mobs are really movable, so you kind of have to do pull 11 alone, unless you're comfortable pulling it with the boss, which isn't that hard, but, you know, if it's your first contender dungeon, definitely don't recommend doing that. Now we're going to do the boss. Then we're walking all the way back around up here to do the last bridge pack, and then we got the boss. And that's Cithrel Ascent. Very easy route. Next, we're going to Heart of Tuzari. This is the 2nd capstone dungeon. You do this at Adept 7. The first pull, I do recommend, even in an Adept 7, like just mounting past this pack up to the wall here and aggroing it, having one of your group members click over here to open up the wall. If no one clicks it, then unfortunately you will have to finish off this like one pack. But ideally, someone clicks and you just bring this all the way down into the next thing. I think this pull is relatively manageable. There's a few sickles, but even if you die, just run back. Try to tank it relatively close to here so you don't accidentally get the patrol. This patrol, I would say, is doable with the pack, but it does make it quite a bit more dangerous. Once it's all dead, you can pull this patrol into here. You can also pull it into this pack instead. I just prefer doing this because it's like a lot more simple. I think the sickles aren't strong enough at like a depth 7 to one-shot you, so this pull should be relatively simple, just one Hellcaller to kick. Then you can click here, open the door, and do the boss. After the boss, we're going to, I believe we're going to be here. Yeah, we're going to do pull 4. This is the left pack with 2 invokers. Make sure they get interrupted. I think there's a bunch of sickles, 1 bloodfang, so make sure you have your defensives ready if Wither goes off. But yeah, ideally Wither just doesn't go off. You can kick this guy and move him up here, then stop Withers, kick Withers, whatever you want to do with that. After that, we are going to pull this invoker, just interrupted once, all the way up to the Barbarous Latcher. You can like mount past him up to the Lasher, and then hopefully someone kicks him, or if no one kicks him, you can just LOS him. And pull a few small flowers with this. I'm not quite sure exactly how many small flowers are here, but since this is a no relic route, you don't need to get that many, since we can't really skip exactly what we want to. So yeah, pull them up to the Barbarous Lasher, pull some amount of flowers. Then once that's done, you can pull the next Barbarous Lasher. This little thing here you can click to unlock the door. Get some number of small flowers. Once that's done, you go up here, and I would recommend not playing this Executioner actually. This guy should not be on the list. We're gonna click him off. And just do a nice chill pack here. 5 mobs. I think 2 of them are arsonists. Yeah, make sure you interrupt those. Then you can actually dodge this patrol and go into pull 8. This one is not avoidable without a relic, so we're going to be fighting it. I have this marked as pull 8 with double invoker and the executioner. Kind of annoying to just fight 3 mobs. If you are feeling spicy, you can pull it into pull 9. You LOS it all the way down on the stairs here. Sometimes the invokers even snap, and then it's triple invoker on top of the executioner. That is kind of a spicy pull to deal with, so I'd recommend just fighting them pack by pack unless you know exactly what you're doing. Once that's done, you're going to mount all the way over here and jump across the stairs here. Do not pull any of these packs. They're all terrible. You don't want to fight any of them. Then we're going to do... honestly, this is marked this way, but I recommend not doing this. You can just pull like this pack and then go boss and then fight this pack after. Like, just the whole W route. If you're feeling spicy, you can pull this pack through the wall with an AoE ability and go into here. But if it's your first time doing the dungeon, I don't recommend doing that. Just pull this, and then pull the boss, and then pull this. Alright, after the boss, we're going to go either fight that pack or not, and then go here. You unlock a campfire here, make sure to click it, and do this pull. You can fight it separately if you want to. Just pull the Bulgor with the Pillagers, then you can chain maybe the Bulgor into this pack if you want to, or just do it all at once. There are a couple cutthroats. Like, this is a pretty dangerous pull for the tank if you're not like ready for it. And there's an invoker. Make sure to interrupt it. So yeah, definitely you can just start on the pillagers, and then once you're like comfy, you can kind of chain in. Make sure you get the campfire here. Then we're going to hug right and fight this pack. If you don't need count from the Bulgor, try to fight it in the corner so you don't get the patrol. There are 2 interrupts that you need to do to like make that happen. But yeah, after that you can click here and then go boss. All right, Wraith Tide Vault. So this is going to be the recommended route for Wraith Tide Vault. I believe this is Champ 7 you'll be fighting this at. So the first pull has a lot of skellies. You're going to, I think these are even required. I'm not 100% sure, but you're going to mount past these skellies. Honestly, going up to the witch can be a little bit difficult. You can just fight like 7 skellies if you want to, but everyone's gonna be mad at you if you don't go all the way up to the witch. Once the pack is kind of like dying down, you can chain the last 2 skellies or get them on pull. Ideally, someone pulls them for you. You can also get these 2 if you want, just for free count. But we don't need that count. So ideally, up to the Tide Witch. Towards the end of this pack, you may have to kite around. Also, make sure people are relatively in melee so the skellies don't jump out. And then we're gonna do some jumps here. We're gonna walk all the way around here, uh, and then jump across the water here, and then go here. And then if you have a dash, you can jump dash. If you do not have a dash, you'll have to take a shark and run through the water. And then do the build rats into this pole. If you have a shark and it's kind of troublesome, you can just fight like the build rats for a little bit and finish off the sharks and then chain. Make sure the build rat kick doesn't go off. Then we're going into the boss after this. From the boss, you're going to exit this way into map 2. And go drag this brute. Oh. How does this work? Okay, we're going to drag this brute up a little bit. There's a brute here. We drag it up into here, and then this patrol will walk into you. It's just a brute and a bunch of scallies. Then we're going to drag this Tide Witch into the corner here and fight it here with this brute. Nothing really to interrupt except the Tide Witch here. Nothing nerfed at all in this pack, it's just the tank needs to live. Then we go into pull 6, which is double Venom Guy, and we're going to pull it into this pack. This can be a little bit dangerous if you're not ready for it as a tank. You could technically pull this solo and then go in later, but I do recommend pulling it together if you can. These stalkers are relatively dangerous for the tank. Another thing you could do is you could like pull this into here, then chain the last 2 stalkers late if it's a dangerous pull. This bite does kind of hurt a bit. Then we're going to go all the way up to the Sentinel here. Again, with these Sentinels, your goal is to just use them to kill everything around them. Do not interrupt the Sentinel. Basically, you just pull up to the prism here. This is a prism. Yeah, make sure you focus down the prism. Once the prism is dead, you can pull up to the next prism with the Sentinel and let his Greed's Embrace kill these. Once this is kind of finished off, you can pull this Sentinel into the next prism, walk past the boss room into here. And then I do recommend getting the campfire before you pull the boss up here, so you can chain up to here. There's another Sentinel. Once the prism's dead here, there's another Sentinel. You can kill off the prism, and then finish everything off. Take the campfire, and then go boss. Once the boss is dead, you're going to turn back around into map 3. So we're going to start up here. This is with the Sentinel and 2 Gravesides. You're going to pull that into the Cannoneer, all the way up to the Cannoneer if you can. There's a Cannoneer and 2 Buccaneers, so you want to kind of focus these down while the Sentinel is killing the pack for you. Make sure you interrupt Shackle Blast from these Cannoneers and Buccaneers. I'm not sure they have that. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure which ones have which, but make sure Shackle Blast doesn't go off. Ideally, Soul Powder Shot also doesn't go off if possible, but it's kind of awkward to use stops here because you don't want to stop the Sentinel too. Anyway, once the Sentinel's killed off these packs, you're going to chain into here. We have 2 Scallies with the Cannoneer and a Vermintide pack, or the Build Rat pack over here. Once that's dead, we're heading into the boat, which is in map 4. I recommend you can split this, but you can also pull it together if you're feeling strong. Whatever you want to do is fine. And then we're back up to map 3, up the stairs. Don't pull the rats. And then you just pull this pack by pack, and then we're on to the boss. And that's it for Wraith Tide. Next, we're going to go over Ransack. It's getting real long. All right, so Ransack is the first dungeon I will not make a route for that doesn't have relics, because I really don't know how to do this dungeon without a chicken. It is like the final capstone dungeon before entering Eternal, so hopefully someone has a chicken by now. My recommended first pull is pulling up to the 2 Arsonists, and you can chicken this Reaver to pull it in. This pull has 3 Arsonists, so it's going to be 1 kick each on the Arsonists. And some Pillagers to try to focus those down as well. If you fail, it's the first pull, quick restart, all good. Then we're going to pull this pack, or these 2, into the Arsonists here. Finish off the Arsonists, and when you're comfortable, you can chain pull. This guy does a lot of damage to the tank. But you can chain pull once the smallies are dead. Once this guy's dead, we're going into pull 4, so you're going to mount all the way down here into this pack and pull it into the Mystic. By the way, there's patrolling looters here. If you happen to catch them over here, you can also pull it into this pack. They care really annoying when you're fighting the ice guy. So yeah, you can chain it into here. There's 2 Mystics here. Try to like use your tank ability to either Cyclone or Grand Melee to get these away from their Frost Beams when they spawn them. We need to interrupt Invigorate as well. Once that's done, you're going to go into the Ice Guy. Alderson is blah blah blah. And then make sure you kill the Frost Tomb. One thing also to keep in mind is that the tomb itself doesn't do that much damage. But what does damage is while you're fighting this guy, you need to be moving at all times. Also, while you're fighting this guy, you need to stand still. Forgot to mention that. But while you're fighting this guy, you need to be moving at all times. But he Ice Tombs someone. And that causes the debuff that you get from not moving to stack up. In order to save that person, the healer can dispel that. While the DPS are killing it. If your healer gets picked, unlucky, just kill it quick. Once he's dead, you're going on to the boss. By the way, this boss is kind of hard for the tank, so hopefully you might take a little bit of prog. Make sure you use a cooldown for Frostbite if you have it, and yeah. All right, next we're going to move on to pool 7. So this is with there's going to be a Reaver here. Make sure you focus him down and some Pillagers. Once the Reaver's dead, I'd say you're safe to go into the 2 Arsonists. And then we're going to be over here. There's also a Mystic and a Slaver. I would say you can chain most of this. Don't worry too much about the Slaver's interrupt. It's just a chain. You just can just stand next to each other. But you can take this area kind of slow. It is quite dangerous. So make sure you finish off the Reaver first and then go into this pull, like the Arsonists and the Mystic. You can even finish off the Arsonists and then just kill these 2 casters alone. After that, we're going into pull 9, which is a Slaver and some Cold Brine Fiends. These Fiends will bolt the tank, and they cast Icy Annihilation, which needs to be stopped. And the Mystic needs to be stopped on Invigorate. This can hurt the tank a lot because you don't really have interrupts to kick Brine Bolt. You just need to stop their important casts. So watch out for that. After that, we're going to pull this pack together. We're going to pull this into here. There's another Mystic. Try to interrupt the Mystic and then tank him on the edge here so the range can fight from here. Then when the Heesies jump over, you can like knock them back or grip them back, whatever. Then we're going to split this. We're going to go pull 11. Kill off, I believe, the Mystic here. Once the Mystic's dead, you can kind of chain into this pack, but if you do it all at once, it hurts a lot. This has double Coldbrine Fiend, 2 and some Pillagers, so I recommend finishing off the Mystic, then chaining. Mega Boss. Then we're going to go into the Reaver here and pull the Slavers from across the lake. Let me pull this into this. There's a Fiend and a Mystic here. Then we're going back up. We're going to fight this pack. This pack can be quite dangerous. There's going to be some Heesies from the stairway here. Tag these 2 Cutthroats and then go all the way up to the wall here and fight the Reaver. You can try to have your back to the wall here so the Cutthroats don't jump to you. One thing is the Reaver does a frontals and you have to dodge that. So when you dodge that, be careful for the backstabs from the Cutthroat. Then we're going up the ramp and we're going to pull into this pull, a very simple pull. 1 Whisper, 2 Arsonists. Make sure you interrupt the Fear on Whisper. Basically only interrupt the Fear because you don't have enough interrupts. And only interrupt Uga on the Arsonists. Make sure to save your stops for if your group like kind of messes that up. For either the Fear or the Arsonist cast. Then we're going to the next pull. Double Cutthroat, double Pillager with the Whisper. Make sure you interrupt the Whisper. And we're going to chicken this Shadow of Ulmorat. And that's the route. Go boss right after. If you still need count, you can pull this pack after, or you can also pull this pack if you notice your count shorter. And yeah, that's Ransack. And that is all the routes. Video was much longer than I thought it was going to be. Thank you all for watching. Peace out. Do remember, by the way, if you see us pushing an Eternal, we will probably be doing like routes that are a little bit more complicated or may require certain relics. But that's not the purpose of this video. It's mainly to cover like just the W routes, the really easy ones that everyone can do. All right, thanks for watching. Peace out.